Hi guys, it's Mr. Druid here. I'm going to be covering the first half of the Chapter 11 notes. This is the powers of Congress. So in Section 1, we're talking about the powers of money and commerce. So just in general, Congress has powers, and these powers include the express powers, implied powers, and inherent powers. Now, we're going to cover this more in class and in our additional notes. So please watch that video once you're finished with this section, okay? So in the commerce powers, the big decision when it comes to the commerce powers came from Gibbons v. Ottgen. I know I said that wrong. I cannot pronounce his name for the life of me. But this court decision that happened in 1824, this opened the way for the federal government in general to have more control over aspects of American life. Now, we already discussed it with our district activity, where the this court case decided that, hey, the proportions of how district lines are drawn need to be based off of population and not just land. So that means that, like we did with our activity, like District 1, it looks physically bigger than District 9, but they have the same amount of population. The only reason why District 1 is so much bigger is because it has way less population in one area. It's all spread out. So compared to District 9 that has all of it crunched together. So the size of it, the physical size doesn't matter. It matters about who lives there. Now, there are some limits to the commerce power. No, what I was saying up here is that there's other federal authority, and we'll cover that more later on. I'm sorry about that. But the commerce power, there are some limits to it. Congress cannot tax exports, so stuff going out, like goods, services being sent out of the country. We cannot tax that. Now, speaking of taxes, Congress has the ability to tax. They collect money for the public needs, so they can collect money for the people for public needs. But they can also use taxes to protect industry, domestic industries, like oil, things like that. They can use money for that. For public health, perfect example, taxes has been used for paying for some services like Medicare, things like that. And also safety, such as the military, Homeland Security, the TSA, things of that sort. So taxes can be used in a number of ways. Now, there are some limits to what Congress can and cannot do, and there are 4 limits of the taxing power, but we'll cover that more in class and in our additional notes. Now, you've learned this in econ. If the federal government spends more money than it takes in taxes, so we do not collect enough taxes, and we spend over that, it's called a deficit financing. So it's a deficit. If the opposite, if we didn't spend enough, which is very rare, it's called a surplus, which has never really happened. So it hasn't happened in decades. But deficit financing. And the Congress has the ability to make up the difference by having a borrowing power. So they can borrow from private investors and they can borrow from other countries. And this is where our national debt comes from, is the borrowing of money. Now, the Supreme Court ruled that issuing of currency, so money, was the proper use of the taxing power. So that gave, again, Congress more power when it comes to money and taxing. And the last part of Section 1 is that both the national government and the state governments can regulate bankruptcy. That means if I have bankruptcy in Michigan for my business, the state of Michigan can handle it. But so can the national government. So I can go above the state and that they can deal with my bankruptcy as well. Or I could deal with both. It's one of those shared powers. So that's it for Section 1. In Section 2, it's the other express powers. So Congress is the only branch that can declare war. So they're the only ones that can declare war with another country. Now, the president used to have a lot more power with the military than they do today. They could like deploy troops wherever they wanted to all the time without really a reason at permission from Congress. Well, this really came to a head in Vietnam era, and Congress said, you know what? We made the War Powers Resolution, which was kind of a check on the president saying, you do not have free reign to move the military where you want, even though you're the commander in chief. So they put some limits on the president's war-making powers. So again, that gave more power to Congress and less power in the hands of the president. Now there's some other powers, and one power is like the power of like patents. Like the government can give out patents, and a patent is it gives the sole right to reproduce, publish, and sell their creative works. So, perfect example. Let's say I made a brand new microchip for a video game, and this was revolutionary. It changes gaming forever. But I created it. No one else owns it because I got a patent on it. That means Sony can't use it. Microsoft can't use it. I am the only one that can use it. And I can create and sell it as I see fit. I could sell it to Microsoft. I could sell it to Sony, but I still own it. And I get to money from it and all that. I get the sole right. Now, copyright is a little different, and we'll discuss that in our activities later on in the week. Now, a big power Congress has is called the eminent domain. Eminent domain gives the power to take away private property for public use. So if let's say they wanted your street and it goes right through your house, they wanted to build a brand new highway. The government could take your house. They have the power to do that. Now, there's limits to this. The Constitution says that they can't just take your house and you're just homeless. No, you have to have just compensation. That means they have to give you something equal or better of a home or money, relocate you somewhere. They have to do that. If they do not do that, they're breaking this. But as long as they give you the fair market value for your home money, or they relocate you to another house or another area that's equal or better, if they're following those rules, they're following eminent domain. Okay, so that is it for sections 1 and 2. So this is the first half of this video, so I'm going to stop this and I'm going to make the other half. If you have any questions, please send me a message. Thank you and have a wonderful day.